Andrew Bustamante, he is a former ex-CIA spy. He just went on to the Diary of a CEO with Steven Bartlett, and he, with his wife, Jihi, he said it a couple times, her name, in this video. They were both on there together, as you can see on the screen. I have not followed this man that much, but he's doing his rounds on the podcast. It sounds like he's going to fall off the map soon, and that's going to be self-inflicted. He sounds like in 2027, he wants to basically disappear from this world and not be in the eyes of anyone out there, the normal, regular people anymore. But this video, what they got into, my eyes were completely opened, and to things I felt like I should not even be hearing what he talked about. And we're going to get into this, but what he basically disclosed everything. But when the topic of Jeffrey Epstein got brought up, it seemed like there was a calculated move, or almost he knew that this question was coming up, but he dialed it back. And same with Jihi. Her answer was almost like that they had practiced it. And I know that we're also going to take a look at, he has been on Patrick Bet David on his podcast, and they went through a lot more in depth, and that was a couple weeks ago. So I don't know if it was more rehearsing of knowing maybe we shouldn't go into it as much. Almost like it just seemed like there was something being hidden. And this guy is actually truly to the core CIA. More than, when you're CIA, but this was just, I've never seen somebody just come out and just talk about these things like he has. And it was really, the whole video was really cool. I liked all that they went into for the most part. It's just the thing that stood out to me the most was the whole Epstein. When that topic got brought up, it seemed like they were not comfortable as they were talking about everything else. But I want to take a look at this. This is him. He's curious. He's a curious dude, and he wants to talk about this. He brings it up, and because he wants some answers. He's had people on talking about Jeffrey Epstein, and when he brings this up, this is towards the tail end of it, a little bit of talking about it, but you can see almost a little bit of a defensive posture. I don't know what it is about Jeffrey Epstein, who's a terrible person, but it seems like Jeffrey Epstein, beyond the grave, gets underneath people's skins, as we've seen it with Donald Trump. He doesn't want to talk about it, and you see a little bit with Andrew right here, which I had not expected. This kind of caught me off guard, to be honest. But I want to take a look at this. This is towards the tail end of their explanation of their interpretation of Jeffrey Epstein and what happened with him.
Do you think he was an agent?
I think he could have been. I think he fits the model of a very good reporting asset, but I don't have enough evidence to say that it was actually one.
Do you think he was?
I think even if he was, I don't know that it matters, is what I think. Like, even if he was, that doesn't mean that it's connected, because he was a lot of things. So I think people are focused on it because it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because it would be interesting if he was, and it would be interesting if there was this conspiracy. I think that's why people are focused on it. But I don't know that it really matters, because in the grand scheme of things, it could be a lot of things that led,
Why are we talking about a dead guy who's not reporting?
I think it's just the allure of, right? People want answers. Once the curiosity gap's open, people need to fill it with something.
Correct. When what the intelligence community believes is that in any given moment, there are 2 penetrations of every intelligence service. So why are we talking about the dead guy that we don't know about when we're not talking about the dozens of arrests and cases that are made every year of active moles, active penetrations that are inside of our intelligence community?
But with what he just said right there in talking about this, he went into the down dirty stuff about the CIA and just things that they're off in the background. They're background noise to me, and as well as many regular people out there, when it's really, there is no privacy. Right now, they can access anything at any time. They are completely familiar with everything you're doing. It's just, if you're a regular person out there, you're not a target. They don't care. They have more important things to deal with. The CIA does. So, and their main thing is protecting the United States from abroad, from people from other countries and terrible foreign actors that are out there. But really, it's kind of a good thing that we got them, because you need them. But it is almost a little bit shocking. And I shared in this, listening to this video, my life seems extremely boring after listening to Andrew Bustamante and all that he talked about and everything that going on with the dealings of CIA and the adventures he's been on. Him and his wife almost like a real life, almost the tail end of the True Lies movie. If you've ever watched True Lies, it's like that is actually happening. I've always just thought like, oh man, that's just them embellishing. Hollywood is just making it fun and games. It's not really like that. It is definitely like that and a whole lot more. If somebody is married to somebody in the CIA, and they talked about that in the video in their discussion, that the CIA encourages people to have relationships and marry people within the CIA, because if you're married with somebody outside of it, you're sworn to secrecy. How can you have a marriage if you can't share things, if you can't actually tell what's really going on, when everything you're saying is a lie to the person that you are married with? And we saw that the breakdown in the movie True Lies. I want to go back and watch that sucker. That was a good one with Jamie Lee Curtis and Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was very good. And it just shows that if you can't have if the lines of communication are down, you're not going to have a happy marriage, and you're going to be seeking things out there. But them talking about this and the whole Epstein thing, because I want to shift back to that. He went into a lot of different things with the CIA and kind of smoking out the moles that are in there and the different things that he got into, and way beyond his comfort zone that just put him to his limits in a lot of ways. And I know he's trained and severely trained, extremely trained, but when it got brought up about Epstein, it seems like the CIA got to him again. Like they're always going to get to you. And he, in this previous communication with Patrick Bet-David, he unleashed on Mossad. Mossad is the one that if Epstein was kind of an agent and he was working for some government, he was probably involved with a lot of different ones out there. I would venture to guess the CIA would be very acquainted with this dude that's just out there and has these lines of just being controlled and puppeted by Mossad. If Mossad has a hand on Epstein, the CIA definitely had a hand on Epstein. So I don't know why, if Andrew is just trying to just, well, we can't go there. And he gets a little bit that defensive posture of it even getting brought up. And he didn't want to talk about it. And I don't think it's not him for lack of not wanting to talk about it. I think someone's getting to him like, you can go out and sell your book. You can talk about all these things, but there's certain lines you do not cross. And there's certain things. That's why with the regular people out there that are even talking about this on all the entertainment networks and all that, we're very curious about this Epstein situation that is being just pushed under the rug. It's being pushed under the rug, and nobody wants to go there. Because I think, like I've said in a previous video, that Epstein situation was the iceberg. We're seeing the very top of it, but underneath it's so much exposing of everything that our government can't go there. And if you get in the know, if you get into that circle, you better shut up and you better not talk about it, because you're going to the things that you are not going to be allowed to live probably if you actually pull the cover underneath this one. You can talk about all these other things and just excite us about, wow, it's so crazy. So many things are happening. And there actually is this constant warfare of spy, like James Bond, that is happening daily and to a next level in our world and in our society. But when you touch on the Epstein thing, because I think that would very much tarnish the CIA. You could say Mossad probably did have, they were controlling him, but you think that Epstein is being controlled by Mossad, but the CIA doesn't know every single thing that is happening? Are you kidding me? That if they're tapped into everything we do, if they're listening constantly, and he would have been a very specific target of interest. The CIA was, if they're allowing Mossad to come in and control this guy, they're probably pulling the levers behind the scene of even letting Mossad do that. So that's just kind of a weird deal to me that Andrew got like this, because I think this is something like the whole video was it was gangbusters. It was good. Like fireworks, woo, everywhere. They were all over the place. And what he was revealing, it was awesome. And I'm glad he's going on to these podcasts and he's doing this, but he's on a leash. The CIA is only going to let him go so far. They can disappear you in an instant, and he understands that. He's lived it. Which brings me to I'm talking about the podcast that he's gone on. He's gone into a number of different ones out there, but there are some that he hasn't gone on, and there's one in particular that he's almost being blackballed, and he's not being allowed to come on, and that's the Joe Rogan podcast, the biggest one out there. And in this conversation with Patrick Bet-David, he brings it up, and it's pretty awesome to hear Andrew's take on it, because it's very enlightening.
So you haven't done Tucker. You've not done Rogan.
I have not done Rogan.
Why haven't you done Rogan?
So Rogan actually knowingly is passing me up. Yeah. So I have a book coming out. I know we've talked about it off camera. I have a book coming up. My publisher actually reached out to the Joe Rogan show to make sure they were aware of me and my upcoming book. And their producer wrote back and said, Joe knows Andy. Joe's been tracking Andy, and Joe does not want to talk to Andy.
Very interesting.
I don't know why. I have a silly theory, because when I interviewed with Lex, and I have tremendous respect for Lex Friedman, when I interviewed with Lex, it was before I really understood that during these interviews, there's a bit of a game that you play with the host, right? So I made Lex look bad.
I'm so glad he said that, because that is this whole new wave that we're going in. I obviously love podcasting. I'm doing it. I'm very interested in, I mean, almost, I don't need regular cable TV. I am very satisfied with listening to podcasts and all the conversations that are had out there. Having said that, as it grows, it becomes bigger and mainstream, and this is where news headlines are made. This is where it's living within these conversations that people are having. It becomes its own weird deal, because if you go on a podcast, who are you really getting on there? Who are you actually seeing? Because the person that's being interviewed, being talked to, they could say all the things in the world, but they got to be so careful, because they don't want to offend the person that they're talking to, because that's their podcast and they can release whatever the hell they want. You know, of course, if they just clip it up and take things out of context, they would become just regular news that is out there that we actually want to throw up, because we see like the CNNs and all the different regular news networks that are out there are so corrupt, because they push a storyline. But now podcasts are almost becoming that in a certain sense, because who are you actually seeing? Because they have the final cut. What actually goes out there? What actually gets released? Am I going to change if they make me look stupid in a certain thing, in a certain part of the video, am I just going to kind of maybe cut that part out, not let it be seen? That's where it becomes kind of weird, because I've just seen like where Candace Owens went on Tucker, his podcast, and she's almost like, you got to kiss up to the person you're talking to, because you're on their show. You're on their show, and it's almost becoming a weird deal, because is it becoming a layer of not real? Podcasts were supposed to be the realest things in the world. Joe Rogan made it awesome, because you see beginning to end the whole conversation. There's nothing taken out. You see everything. It's something that makes somebody look stupid. It's there. It doesn't get just withheld, and it became, that's real life. We crave authenticity. We crave seeing what is actually happening. And podcasts and the big names, the big hitters out there are almost, maybe as their, what's it called? Your, not self-esteem, but you're just, what's that? I'm thinking of. I found that if you try to think of the word, say the word that you can't find, you won't be able to find it. As their ego, maybe that's where I was going with. Their ego starts getting puffed up. You don't really become as real as it gets anymore, because you're gonna make things. You're pushing the narrative of, you care about yourself. You care about what your podcast becoming the airwaves. You care about your name getting bigger and bigger, as opposed to having the real down to earth conversations, even if it makes you look like a stupid idiot. You want to suck the realness out of everything. You don't want to be a puppet. You don't want to be something fake out there. You want people to see what is really happening. And if the interview didn't go good, it didn't go good. Put it out there. Show everything. I mean, that should be almost where we make it. I know we want to cut everything up because it makes it interesting. We want people to be locked in. But on every podcast, why can't we get maybe put a code of ethics for podcasters out there? Release the whole thing. And then you can maybe make the beautified up version of it so that it makes you look good. You got all the things. You kept the interest. You kept the retention, all that good stuff. But then maybe have that everything, it becomes the whole conversation needs to be seen or accessible. This should be maybe something we raise up to everyone. Like if you want to be in the crowd of the people that people trust, this is what you put out there, you know? And I know it's not great. I know it's not because it might make you look stupid. You know, your career might be devoured but who cares? Who cares? And which leads me into my final point, all this stuff, you know, we can get into the CIA, all these things happen in this world because there are a lot of crazy things happen in this world. And it seems like it's getting crazier by the moment as things are escalating in degrees we have not ever even thought to comprehend. Things are getting crazier by the day, by the moment. And I think that shows you the times that we are in, and just things are coming to light and everything that's out there. And I think that as we realize the times that we're in, if you are not burying your head in the sand and you're actually open to what's coming down the pike, because something big, I believe, is about to come down the pike. And these government agencies out there, whatever, they can just in an instant, just you are off the map. Your voice will be completely covered. I've had this recently about TikTok out there. You know, I love TikTok. I love TikTok. They're so good. But I'm actually almost repulsed by TikTok. I'm just gonna say it. I'm repulsed by TikTok right now. I don't even want to post on TikTok out there because of things that I've just put out there, and and it's just being pulled down. It's making me sicker by the day. And they're all susceptible to it. All these platforms that we post on, and we think we have our voice out there. It's out there. Everybody can hear us. That's cool and all, you know? I have freedom of speech. I can say whatever I want. Yay. But then your voice can be pulled down in a second. You can be just bye-bye. See ya. You're done. You say anything out of line, you're done. And that I used to think it wouldn't be so bad if China took over. I mean, they'd be nice. We'd eat a lot of good Chinese food. With a dictatorship like that, you know, you really do see that if you actually want a voice and be able to speak, those aren't the ways to go about it, you know? And I think we need to put a little bit of American in everything because I'm about to, you know, I am becoming, you know, Mel Gibson, you know, the patriot, you know, Braveheart. We need to fight for freedom, and these platforms, I know they are. I've always held back in a lot of the ways because I'm in their house. That's why I guess I with TikTok, I'm still using the platform and I'm not posting anything on there because it's ridiculous, the things that they're pulling down. But it's their house, it's their platform, play by the rules. Take off your shoes when you walk in, I guess, kind of thing. And be nice, play nice. And as I'm not on there, I feel like in my heart of hearts, it's detestable, you know, what they're doing in some ways. And and even YouTube can they have their words you don't say. They have your topics you don't go into. And I think that we're living on borrowed capital of what Elon Musk did with X. And and that should go down as a huge thing that we all respect and look back to, that he, at least for a little while longer, kept the ability for people to say freely, post freely what they think. And we're living on that borrowed capital, that borrowed land and time. And who knows how long it will last. I guess if with the Trump administration, having them, I at least feel a lot better about having them than the opposite direction we would have went if Trump had lost the election. And that goes, I mean, that brings me up to the whole, I'm just going to say it just because been on my mind a lot. On my mind. Nick Fuentes, he's always on my mind. There are a lot of things about him. I'm not going to go down his whole trail and a rabbit trail and all the things that he's doing, but something about him, I think he's more of the Joker than me. And I love the Joker. He's such an idealist, which is good, but almost that he's completely just wanting to destroy and decimate Trump, his administration, his crew, what he's doing, because it's not the perfect. And it's like, he reminds me of someone that is never satisfied. And I maybe that's a good thing. You shouldn't be satisfied to an extent, but if you're actively wanting to oppose and destroy because it's not the perfect ideal, where are you actually going to get to? Where are you actually going to get to of making a difference, of making this world better, or making America first, better in actuality, when you just are why not still criticize the hell of things that aren't perfect and great at what you want, but don't be actively against what we know that is good with the Trump administration. What they are doing is good. Support that as opposed to finding everything to criticize and critique about. I had to say that because I like that he's out there. I like that he's been released, from his cage. What he was put into, nobody was seeing the light of day of him. But I think he's going about it, and I think that's that lack of maturity that he has not apprehended yet. That you gotta not go along to get along, but don't be just find the good in some things. Find the good in some things, but not just see the bad in everything. And that's how I am seeing what he's doing right now. But overall, talking about this, Andrew Bustamante, I would bring it back home to Joe Rogan. Don't be mad because him going on Lex Friedman's show made him look kind of silly, or made his podcast, he got tarnished a little bit. His reputation, because he maybe asked a silly question or a dumb question, whatever it is that he got raked over the coals for. Don't be something that you're not going to bring on this guy, Andrew Bustamante, Monty, however you say it. If you're not, that be something, and that might not even be the reason at all. But this guy is certainly a hot commodity, certainly a guy that if he's going to go off the face of the map soon, and he's going to take himself out of this world, he might be somebody that you want to get on there and talk through these things. Be inquisitive and like you are, and get to the all that he knows. You're going to be the one that's going to be able to find those gems in there that no one else is able to. So I'm just absolutely surprised. He doesn't bring on there amazing people all the time. Joe makes the show. He makes the show. But a lot of times the guests that he has on there, they're not awesome. They're not always awesome. And this guy would certainly be somebody that would fit the MO of getting what is going on in the government. These things that maybe that Steven Bartlett didn't know to ask or didn't want to push because he's got his whole deal. He's got his whole thing and he's staying in his lane. There's maybe a lot of things that Joe Rogan could find and kind of unearth in talking with Andrew. So I was very highly encourage Joe to bring him on. But all right, we'll leave it at that. Follow me on X and Instagram at Brandon Fogel, and we'll leave it at that. See y'all.